Hello, everybody, and welcome to part two of our supersized WrestleMania weekend podcast. If you're listening to it all in one batch, we salute you because it's going to be a fucking long one. We were like, yeah, we'll keep half an hour for Hall of Fame and NXT. Been over an hour. Sorry, but we salute you for sticking out this long.
Absolutely.
But speaking of saluting people for sticking things out this long, what I would like to absolutely acknowledge is that we've now gone past the 500 mark of our YouTube videos, which is
Oh, I thought you were going to
amazing.
say Team Venom hosts quitting.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, Team Venom started in 2013, so we're 12 years in. You've been with us for more. I say us. You've been with me because there's no one else. You've been with me on this for over 6 years now, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And when you first got involved, we had maybe 20, 30 videos on YouTube, if that. Because we started, and then that was the point when we weren't pushing YouTube so much in the early days. We were doing all the podcasts, which you did more of than anyone at the time as well, which upset them and they all that. But we when Team
I did
Venom's
all of them.
yeah,
I
I
did
know.
solo podcasts.
I remember, like, oh, I don't think I can make the TNA one. It's like, right, well, I'm just sitting here with a microphone, right, sound. But we went from like being like less than 100 when you started. So it's, I think, I mean, there's also stuff that we've had to remove from YouTube for copyright and
Money's
people's
been spat
feelings
out and
and yeah, all that sort of stuff. So we're probably a lot higher than the 500 mark.
yeah.
So I would say I would like to celebrate at least 500 episodes of podcasting with your good self because
Hey,
that's more than likely what we did.
cheers.
Cheers. I've got a. Well, I wonder if you'll hear this. It didn't make a noise. I'm sorry. But yeah. So WrestleMania, man. Like it's that time of year which we've done. We've been doing WrestleMania. I was flicking through the YouTube channel, and there's previews for WrestleManias that I'd forgotten we'd even previewed. I'm sure there was a WrestleMania 37 preview that the pair of us did on there. We did that whole thing. Do you remember when we were doing the podcast where we went, right, we're going to recap every WrestleMania? And
Yeah.
me, you, and Danny sat down and we recorded like, I think we bashed out the first 10 in a row or something.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was a lot of effort. We were like losing the will to live by the end of
Yeah.
it. And like Hacksaw Jim Duggan became French because I accidentally pronounced him as Dugan.
Yeah. Oh,
And I was
yeah.
that pure French patriot.
Yeah. The true inspiration behind La Resistance.
La Resistance.
La Resistance.
The La Resistance
Oh
flag
no.
was made
I
up of
have.
Hacksaw's old piece of wood.
Oh no, I have Chateau myself.
And,
WrestleMania.
yeah. Oh man, I'm so hyped for WrestleMania. I mean, I can't tell you who in enough words how much I'm looking forward to this year's Mania. And
No, it's
there's,
there's a lot again, there's a lot of people mourning.
I know, and I don't get it.
I
I
think we're
don't.
just in that generation where people bitch. I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
I think we could be given the most perfect build and most perfect match card, and
yeah,
people are still gonna find a way to bitch and moan about it.
yeah,
So just listen to us. We're positive about wrestling, unless it is
yeah.
full dog shit, and then we will tell you.
Unless it's
Um,
fucking AEW, in which case we get lots of hate in our comment section because yeah, we
yeah,
are very negative.
yeah.
You know, the
Um,
funny thing is, I actually listened to an episode of Rennie Paquette's podcast with John Moxley recently because someone threw it my way. And John Moxley on the podcast, it's from a while ago, refers to AEW as the most childish and unprofessional place he's worked at. He's like, oh yeah, I did 8 years on the Indies, did 8 years at WWE, been doing bits and bobs with Japan, and I've never had this sort of this sort of atmosphere
his
here.
his
It's
contract
like
must be fat to withstand that.
yeah, yeah. But yeah,
But
so their own champion
yeah,
is saying that.
but
Oh,
WrestleMania night one. Um, if you didn't tune into the previous episode where we did the Hall of Fame and NXT, the
yep,
Prediction League is back. We are doing it for a
yep,
full calendar year. Every NXT takeover, every
yep,
pay-per-view, winner at the end after next year's Mania
yep.
will get a prize. However, we've done our predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver. You can
Oh,
go
I've had an idea for the prize. I will message it you.
cunnilingus. Um, and he smiled. I was right. Yeah, we've done that.
Sniff, sniff.
uh, Funnily enough, my wife takes my boxes off and calls it a scratch and sniff, so it is that.
Very
Now,
good.
if yeah, yeah, if we've done the predictions for NXT Stand and Deliver, if you're not listening to the Mega Rep, then you can go back and find that. It's towards the end if you just want to hear those, but they're in
Yep,
there. At the Mania post show, whatever we're gonna call that, review, whatever you want to call it, we'll
yep,
go through the predictions of who's in the lead at that point. But we will be doing predictions as we go along, talking about these matches. So I'm going to go off the Wikipedia match card. Obviously, we
yep.
don't know the actual order of the matches, so this is just what
And
Wikipedia has.
yes,
There
I've got a
will be
lot to say about the
bonus.
first match.
There will be bonuses for little things, but we'll get to that when I mention that. So,
Yeah,
match one: the Ring General Gunther defends the World Heavyweight Championship against main event Jey Uso Yeet. Um, this honestly flip a coin
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
it wouldn't be the first
It's
time that the big underdog story doesn't pay off.
yeah. Look at Edge versus Roman, Bryan versus Roman, Bryan versus Orton. Like, and
Yeah,
yeah,
Rhea versus
yeah,
Charlotte,
yeah.
Shinsuke
Um,
versus AJ.
Triple H at WrestleMania 2000 retained he was the first. I think he was the first heel to retain the World Championship in the main event of WrestleMania.
Yes.
So The Rock won the Rumble, and The Rock won the Rumble and didn't win the title at Mania. Can you imagine that? That's yeah. So it could easily have, it could easily be a thing of gun for winning. I want to see Jay win though.
Jay is my pick straight off the
Yeah,
bat.
I know we are very similar in our wrestling taste, so I know there's going to be things that we both agree on. Um,
But if anything, that's
I'm
what's going to make this league so tight.
I know. I think the NXT is going to be the thing that swings it for this whole WrestleMania weekend card
Oh yeah,
like
I'm so
because we
competitive.
picked
I'm
different
about to
ones on
become the
most.
biggest NXT mark ever. I'm gonna be dirt sheeting NXT. I'll be calling up
Just to make
Sean.
sure that I lose.
Yeah, yeah. Be calling up
But
Sean.
yeah,
Listen, there's a host, right? He's chosen this winner. I don't think that's
he's
best for
also a
business.
massive Bret Hart fan over
Yeah,
Sean. Just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. I don't
Say
think
that
that's
to him.
best for business. You know, I think
Even though I will say my two favorite wrestlers of all time are Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels.
I feel like that's not
That's
allowed.
that.
I feel like that's not allowed. I feel
I
like
know
that's
that, but
nah.
that's why I loved them.
I feel like
Right.
that's like saying my favorite football teams are Man U and Man City. Like
Yeah, I
it's
know that
not
is it.
allowed.
But right, okay. Go back for anything we've said on previous things when I've talked about how I've got into wrestling and Royal Rumble '93, Survivor Series '96. The first podcast you did with the very first one when we talked about what shows we enjoyed. I mentioned Survivor Series '96 on there, which had Bret Hart versus Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels as the WWF champion, losing that title to Psycho Sid in the main event and in his boyhood dream being crushed and everything. And the show that got me into wrestling properly as well was Royal Rumble '93, which had Bret Hart as champ and Shawn Michaels as IC champ. I grew up in the era of those two being the best, and you could tell they were the best. And obviously, then there was the screw job and all that. But I was so hyped when Shawn came back in 2002. That was amazing for me. And so, yeah, I'm a fan of both. I can be a fan of both. Uh, so there. It shouldn't be allowed, but there's worse things that are allowed now in politics. So yeah, but yeah, I'm going for Jay on this. I saw a very interesting like fan theory, which I can't see happening, but I thought was quite
I
funny.
saw the same thing. I think I know
The
what
one
you're going
about
to
The
say.
Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they saying, "Oh yeah, well, The Rock says he's 20 steps ahead. Jay was number 20. Blah 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 blah."
I mean,
Jacob
I like the idea based on how the Rumble finished, where Cena essentially jumped off the
jumps.
apron.
Yeah, yeah, and
That would tie in.
and yeah, but I want Jay as Jay at the moment.
Yeah.
I think
At least give us how Jay is at the moment until like Raw. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Let him
yeah,
like
yeah,
win at Mania and have the whole crowd yeeting as he wins it. Let him have the big face
yeah.
moment before the turn.
And I
Um,
don't think there's any reason to turn him heel because this whole thing of him breaking away from the bloodline, the whole story of Jey, the whole narrative of Jey Uso as a wrestler going into WrestleMania 41, his entire career relies on him being a super over babyface for the next year or two, which will happen. I think.
yeah,
I think he can't turn heel. I don't think fans would accept it. I don't think it would work anymore for him because look how flat Jimmy's heel turn was when he went back to the bloodline after turning on Jay. No one cared. Then last year's WrestleMania, everyone loved Jay going into it, and but that match is the one that people weren't bothered about because
yeah,
like, Jimmy's losing. Jay has got himself to that level where he's now he's absolutely a superstar. And I
yeah,
know they call all the wrestlers superstars, but if you were actually using the definition of superstar, Jey Uso is a proper top tier main event superstar at the moment, and him winning the world title, I think, should happen absolutely for him.
yeah, 100%.
And and on the flip side, like you said, we could flip a coin. Gunther is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Like Gunther keeping the belt, perfect. Gunther could absolutely have a lengthy world title reign. So I would be happy with either result, but I think Jey Uso.
me too. Um, the War Raiders defend the World Tag Team titles against the New Day. I'm going to say off the bat, I think the New Day win this via new member.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or
I don't know who that member
or they
is.
lose it via Big E interference.
Yeah, that was going to be my other one, but I think
I
they're
want to see
booked.
New Day win.
I think they're booked so much at this point that
Yeah.
it's too early to have a comeuppance. I think you need to give them the tag titles so that they can, do the bragging, adding the titles on top of what they're already doing, and then the team that comes up and beats them, which I would have be Fraxium.
Yeah.
Um, they get that big, we beat the heels, everything's right in the world moment.
Or they become proper shit scraping heels, as in like no one gets to win a match clean against them. They don't even win matches clean. They do their thing like they did on Raw, where they just fucking threw the match out. They do all stuff like that to keep the title all the way till next year's Mania, where the Usos win the titles off them.
That would be
And you
incredible.
get New Day Usos because of their history together, and you give them the Mania moment.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Who are you picking?
Sorry. I'm also picking New Day. I like the War Raiders, and I've known I've sort of like years and years and years and years ago before they were in WWE. Hanson and Rowe were both on my Facebook friends list, and I spoke to them both, and Dijak, and Keith Lee. Keith Lee we had on a podcast years ago before he was big, and he put us in touch with Dijak, who then we got an interview with, who but then because we'd interviewed Keith Lee and Donovan Dijak, as he was called at the time, I think he's called that again now. They
He
put us in touch with
is.
Shane Taylor, who was Keith Lee's tag partner in ROH at the time. Shane Taylor, we did a few interviews with over the years, and then he put us in touch. They all sort of vouched for us with the War Raiders. So I had both of them on my friends list, and we got interviews lined up with both of them, and they both got signed to WWE before we could do it. And
Bastards.
Dijak, we had a written interview, and we've got a podcast planned with him. He got signed too, and do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those, but not you can't be bitter about that sort of thing because
Not at all.
that's amazing that you're like, oh man. And obviously, we were going to chat to him because they're so fucking good, and they were doing really good stuff prior to WWE. So seeing them have a WrestleMania match is heartwarming for me. Do
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? It's one of those
Yeah,
things where
yeah.
I just feel good for them. And you're just like that's so great. I'm chuffed that they get this Mania match, knowing like having conversations with him and chatting to him from way back when. I mean, they probably won't. I mean, I can't even say probably. They absolutely won't remember me being like from them because I was just literally someone messaging them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm very happy that they're getting this against the New Day of all teams because New Day were viewed as one of the greatest tag teams at one time.
Yeah.
So, but
Right,
I think New
matches.
Day are winning.
Yeah.
But I've just got to quickly say I had a brain fart while you were talking about the way like the new member and all that, and I said Big E costing him. What if that's combined and Big E heel turns?
I don't think Big E will heel turn unless he can wrestle.
Or well, that's what I mean. What if Big E's
And
ready
but
to wrestle and instead of going against him, he does this thing of
3 in
you
and
guys were
knocking
right and knocks him
95.
out. Yeah, you guys were right and knocks
Yeah,
out like Hanson or Rowe or whatever.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah,
Right, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. I'm gonna just put it out there. Rey's gonna win. He's gonna unmatch El Grande Americano. Finally,
yeah,
stop all this online bullshit about who is it? Unmasks him. Obviously, oh my god,
Vince
who's
McMahon.
surprised? It's Omos.
Yeah, fucking. But can you imagine the trolling if Chad Gable comes out as the manager of El Grande Americano and brings Omos out in that uniform?
Yeah,
Can you imagine if they did something like just something completely over the top like that? That would be amazing.
that would
They
be
went,
great.
and Sean and Hunter would be backstage pissing
Oh,
themselves
absolutely. Yeah. Are
just
you
like, yeah, put the
going?
mask on Omos.
Are you going Rey as well?
Yeah. I'd like to see Chad Gable get a WrestleMania moment.
Me too, but I want it to be
But
as Chad Gable.
yeah. So this has got to be his comeuppance, and then next
Yeah.
year is his moment.
Do you know what? The next two, I think we don't really need to delve into because I think we're gonna have the same answers
Okay.
here.
We've
Jade,
got the same
Jade,
match for fucking every match, I
ridiculous.
think,
Jade
apart from
Car-
maybe the main event.
Jade Cargill
But
versus Naomi
uh, well, I'd like to see Naomi win, but logically, Jay Cargill has to win.
is 100% Jade. Yeah,
Yeah, like
Jade.
from a storytelling thing,
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
think
not a
to be
story that
honest,
I think needs
I
to
don't.
continue.
No, I don't think this is going to be the big face Jade Cargill. I think this is going to be the start of the
Ass kicking Jay Cargill.
yeah. Put you want to label a Hayes feel or in between, whatever. She's just
Yeah,
going to dominate and eventually take a title. Basically, I think is what's going
yeah,
to
yeah.
happen.
Oh, she goes. Bianca wins the world title, and Jade goes after her for not doing anything in this build up.
Possibly, or we get Jade as the mid card women's title, mid card
Yeah,
champion, and then she drops the title out of boredom because she's beating everyone and goes for the main at some point.
I'd like
Next
to point
match.
out because you're saying about mid card women's championship. At time of recording, SmackDown hasn't happened yet, and I think there's potentially three more matches to go on to Mania that'll come out of SmackDown. I
Yeah,
think we'll get Chelsea Green
do you know what?
versus Zelina Vega again at
I
Mania.
this right. This is the thing. I know they're doing the battle royal on SmackDown.
Yeah,
I think they should just don't do those matches and just let them have a pre-show. Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
just you've got two nights, stick two matches on the pre-show. They
yeah.
don't have to be super long matches, but stick two matches on each pre-show.
Battle Royal every evening,
Yeah,
on both evenings. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
fine. Crowd love it.
literally a battle
You
royal
know,
each evening, and then you can have like the mid card women's titles on each one if so. Then they're on Mania.
yeah. I didn't even know that. Do you know what? I didn't know that they'd announced the Battle Royals for SmackDown this year.
I don't think they have, but I think for the
It's
past
just
2 or 3
assumed.
years,
Yeah, yeah. Because the last, yeah.
WrestleMania, SmackDown. I know.
But yeah. I think
Uh,
Selena and Chelsea's going to be added to the to Mania, and I also really hope that the SmackDown tag titles get added to Mania
Me too.
because of shenanigans between the Machine Guns and Street Profits. Because Street Profits won at last year's Mania.
Well,
I think them not having a match this year is while
yeah.
they're champions is disappointing.
Well, what we're gonna do at the end of the Mania is we're gonna put some what if points in there.
Yeah, because there's also the Orton thing because that's got to
Yes,
happen.
exactly. So we're gonna put some what if points in there. Now, if we were to say, for example, the Guns are gonna win the SmackDown tag titles. If that happens on SmackDown, it's not a point. It has to take place at
at
Mania.
Mania. Yeah,
Yeah.
because our predictions are only going based on PLEs
The only one
and
I think
takeovers.
I might add is the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, because the winners of that have been so rogue
Yeah,
over the past few years. Like, genuinely, it is like they just pick a name out of a hat to win it that year.
yeah. Fuck
Yeah.
it, let's do the battle royal winners then. Let's throw that out. Who do you
I
think will
don't.
win them?
I will do that at the end, because
Okay,
we
best.
could just add them as bonus points.
Okay.
LA Knight defends the US title against Jacob Fatu. I'm going for Jacob Fatu. I think he's
I,
going to destroy LA Knight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next match.
Hell, do you know what? Like, yeah, yeah,
Like, where we're like, you then, yeah, I'm going to be on the NXT dirt sheets and calling Sean because it's going to be so close on this.
yeah.
Just agreed on everything.
These are
Yeah,
these two
what
for
a lazy predictions we've got for Mania.
the last two on this list for night one are probably gonna be where we differ, purely because
Okay.
I refuse to say one person, and then the other one
Yeah, I know, and
is
I'll say
roll
that
up the
person. Yeah,
dice. Yeah. So
but
Tiffany
I
Stratton
don't
versus
think.
Charlotte Flair. I think I think Charlotte's gonna win because
Yeah,
Charlotte, but
I think Charlotte's winning, but I want Tiffy to win.
I'm saying Tiffany because I'm not allowing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think Charlotte's going to win, but I want Tiffy. So
Yep.
that's my prediction. Yeah,
I can't
both say
allow
Tiffy.
to
Yeah,
choose a mannequin to win.
yeah, we'll go for Tiffy.
Are you going Tiffy as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not. Look, I will happily like cheat to win in certain things, but I'm not winning by picking Charlotte Flair.
Okay, I respect that. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk with Paul Heyman versus Seth freaking Rollins. I have gone for Seth Rollins via Paul Heyman.
You're gonna hate this. I agree.
You cunt.
I think out of the three of them, Seth's the one who needs to win,
Yeah, and I think
and
having
Steph's the one who's CM Punk's very well defined at the moment. Roman Reigns is very well defined. Seth has been doing all his, oh, I'm a visionary, blah, 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 blah. But he's not really doing anything. And he's not really been doing anything for years other than coming out in weird outfits.
just
But he's
being there.
over. The crowd love him. He's had the world championship and everything. But he's still, and when he was the world champion, he was still in the background. No one, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Seth should be at the same level as those two. And the thing is, right, and you could, oh man, I'm sure you've probably thought these exact same things, right? When you look at anyone that Heyman's been involved with, they've been multiple time world champions that have been at the point where you don't care about them.
Yes.
Big Show, right? Big Show got reinvented straight away.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle's always been like top tier and everything, and always been, Kurt Angle's phenomenal. But when Paul Heyman turned on Big Show for Kurt Angle hadn't held the title all year.
Yeah.
That was like a whole like title picture free year for Kurt Angle, and it put him back in the spotlight and reinvented him for a while. Then we got that amazing WrestleMania 19 main event. We got the heel general manager run, and it's just been world title after world title since then in the two companies that he was at. So Heyman, so Angle was already a multiple time champion, but that Heyman turn was a pivot for him in his career because it showed that he could be a dangerous heel.
Yes.
And it made him, because before he'd only been a goofy heel.
Yeah.
But the Heyman stuff made him a dangerous heel. So there's that. There's Brock Lesnar in general. Like Brock Lesnar, when he came back, was great, but adding Heyman made him next level again, because there was the return aura of Brock Lesnar for a while, and it's Brock Lesnar, he's just going to destroy stuff. Then they put Heyman with him next level again, even though he was already next level at that point. It was like the Heyman thing of being able to come out on Raw and SmackDown or wherever Lesnar was feuding with, and build the feud without Lesnar being there. Heyman made Brock Lesnar more than the one trick attraction that he'd been at that point. It was like the thing of, no, now you know that if Paul's coming out and getting in your business, you need to watch your tone, because otherwise Brock's going to take you to Suplex City in a few months. Do you know what I mean? You get all that, and Heyman's just like worked wonders for everyone. Roman Reigns is a clear example of a next level change when Roman was already the big dog. He'd already had main events at Mania. He'd already had multiple world titles, and he was at that point where fans weren't really bothered. They were like, "Oh, it's Roman. We'll watch his match," but we're not that fussed. Pairing with Paul Heyman, you get Wreck Everyone and Leaves and the Tribal Chief Bloodline. All of this is because Heyman and Reigns were paired together. Punk, again, perfect example. Punk was the WWE champion in a time when he was frustrated because he was on the lower cards. John Laurinaitis versus John Cena main evented a pay-per-view while face CM Punk was WWE champ.
Yeah.
On the Raw 1000, I think it was Raw 1000. I know it was a special episode of Raw that year when The Rock came back and all that lot and announced he was going to go after the champion at whoever that was at the Rumble. And this was before SummerSlam. It was Cena versus Punk in the main event. You got the Punk turn, and then he left with Paul Heyman at the end of the show. He got into a car with Paul Heyman.
Yep.
And then you've gone from CM Punk, the face that says the stuff that people don't necessarily think is going to be said, and everything, to being one of the best heels in the business at that point and having this historic title reign because he's aligned with Heyman. And that, Punk was already a really good level, but the Heyman part of his run is what people remember.
Yeah.
Because and that's one of the things that used to piss Punk off anyway. Not about Heyman, but about the thing of, oh, he's WWE champ going into WrestleMania. He's got third match on the show against Jericho.
Yeah.
Punk and Jericho could have absolutely headlined, but they didn't. He's the WWE champ going against Daniel Bryan at the next pay-per-view, but it's John Cena versus Big Show in a cage or whatever in the main event, or a last man standing match between Cena and Big Show or JBL, or more of the John Cena John Laurinaitis feud was the main event spot while Punk was WWE champion until Paul Heyman took over. Paul Heyman got involved, and then you got Punk main eventing from that point onwards. And so my prediction is Paul Heyman aligns with Seth Rollins, and because Seth Rollins, and the justification is that Seth Rollins spoke truths on Raw about when Paul got put through the table by the Samoans, where the fuck was Roman?
Yeah.
Punk you can forgive storyline wise because Punk wasn't there on that show. He's not a SmackDown guy. When he was on for the one time that he was there on SmackDown, he was at Paul Heyman's side. To be fair,
yeah,
do you know what I mean? So Punk gets the pass on that one, but Roman didn't bring Paul back. Paul and Punk came to help Roman at Survivor Series, and Roman's forgetting that in this build and stuff. So Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman is my prediction. I think logically storyline Heyman leaving Reigns makes sense. Heyman and Punk, I mean, he doesn't even need to screw Punk as such. He could screw Roman and help Seth win, and then still walk off with Seth.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Seth. I'm going to Seth. We've picked the same pick for every fucking match.
Let's see if night 2 is any different. Night 2 kicks off. Io Sky defends the women's world title against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Who are you choosing to walk out of that?
I want Io to walk out of that, so I'm going to say Io. I think Rhea is probably. I think the reason Rhea's lost the title is so that she can win at Mania.
Yeah. I
don't think Bianca needs it. I think Jade Cargill might beat the shit out of Bianca in the middle of this match because it's on a separate night. I think Jade might come out and get her. Do you know what I mean? Because of the Naomi storyline. And then you've got something for them both to do after Mania that has nothing to do with the title. But I want to see Sky keep the belt. That's what I want to see.
I want to see Sky keep the belt, but I just can't see them not choosing Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
I think. But then
I don't want Sky to second reign to be a transitional champion.
No.
I don't.
Rhea's reign was transitional, so it's like.
Well, yeah, I know, but Rhea's had the decent reigns as well.
I'm gonna just guess. I'm gonna say Bianca.
You watch neither of us be right now, and
I'm
we
gonna
still get the same score for Mania.
I'm gonna say Bianca purely because she's the only one out of these three who hasn't hot potatoed this title.
Yeah. Okay.
So that yeah. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bailey and Lyra. I feel like this is probably going to be an easy, quick prediction.
Yeah, Liv and Raquel are just going to keep the belts, aren't they? Because
Yeah,
no need to put them on Bailey and Lyra. I
I
think, if
think,
anything, it sets up miscommunicate. There'll be miscommunication between Bailey and Lyra, and then you've got your Intercontinental title feud going into the next pay per view. Go on, done.
absolutely, and I won't be surprised. Liv and Raquel win this, and then the winner of the NXT tag number
Takes
two.
it like we were on about. Yeah,
Yeah,
come up for Raw the following night. Yeah,
AJ Styles versus Logan Paul.
I want AJ to win. I know it's going to be Logan.
I am 100% the same, but again, I'm not going to say Logan for the same reason.
No, I'm picking AJ. I want AJ. That's the thing. It's not. I know there's who we think will win, but it's what we want to win. Who we want to win. That's how we're calling it. So
right.
yeah,
Braun
AJ.
Breaker defends the Intercontinental title against Penta.
Dirty Dom, man.
100%. Here's what I'm going to say. Dominic Mysterio, one of two ways, right?
I've got a prediction too. One of us is going to say the other one's thing.
Yeah, either Dom beats pins Finn, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or
Absolutely.
say if Finn hits a coup de grace on Penta,
Yeah.
Dom grabs Finn and throws him out. And
that would be beautiful.
On Raw, you've got Finn being like, "What, I'm the leader of the Judgment Day. What are you doing?"
Oh, potato.
Yeah. And then you'll get Dom being like, "You're not the leader. Lights go out. Aleister Black. Aleister Black is the new leader of the Judgment Day. Is how I would do it.
Yeah.
I think Dirty Dom has to win this. I think this could be the title reign that Dirty Dom has, where he does, like you suggested with the new.
We were talking about the shit eating heel run that we were saying we wanted Dom to have for the world title. We were on about that last year.
Yeah,
I think he has that with the Intercontinental.
Yeah, me too. Both saying Dirty Dom.
Yep, how I was thinking it'll go, which just because I think we're going to see Bron spear Finn in two, but it'll be like Finn will be completely knackered from the spear. It'll be just be down and dead. Penta, Mexican Destroyer. Dom kicks Penta out of the way, pins Finn.
Yeah,
just something like that, where it's like, and then Dom's, because of the shit-eating heel thing, his justification to Finn on Raw is like, well, so one of us had to get the title, and do you know what I mean? They worked together up until that point, so it's not quite a betrayal, but it's enough for Finn to snap.
Yeah,
and yeah. But your ways also sound great. But basically, Dom pins Finn.
Match 5, Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. I'm going to go with Drew.
Yeah, Drew's got to win. Drew's got to win at Mania. I think, even though Drew's the heel and Priest is the face, Priest has been consistently costing Drew shit for a year. Like, he cost him the world title at Mania last year, took it off him. There's the times when Drew's had the opportunities and Punk's cost him and all that sort of stuff. But then there was the Royal Rumble, Priest took him out. The Elimination Chamber, Priest took him out. Priest is 3-0 to Drew in these things. Drew needs to win. And the thing is with Drew, and this is still one of those things that I think is really funny. He's moaned like fuck for the last year about his thing, but he's probably had the best career year out of everyone. Like that, from Mania to Mania. Yeah, and like I'd say even above Cody, because Cody's had a phenomenal year, because he's just been consistently champ from Mania to Mania, which doesn't happen normally, other than Roman. So, kudos to him. Like that's an amazing feat. But Drew, since last year's Mania, he won the world title. He had what's gone down as one of the biggest feuds of the year against Punk. He had the match of the year in the Hell in the Cell, which probably the best Hell in the Cell match ever. I mean, like, Michaels Taker and Taker Mankind and Triple H Mankind, well, Triple H Cactus are all up there. If you were doing top 5, those 3 matches, maybe Sean Hunter when they did the Hell in the Cell, which was really good, and this one. And that's ignoring anything off a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. This is literally they basically made you forget that it was a gimmicked match for years that didn't mean anything, and made you remember that it was the feud-ending match, the match that could define a career, and that match was so frigging brutal, all this stuff. But yeah, so Drew had that. He also won one of the biggest matches of SummerSlam
Yeah.
because he beat CM Punk with Seth as the referee. He won the Money in the Bank. Do you know what I mean? He won the Elimination Chamber like prior to Mania as well and stuff. But Drew's had a really good career year, and it's like anyone else does one of those things, and it's a huge year for them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So we're both saying Drew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Main event. The last match of Mania, Cody
We
Rhodes.
got to that already. Wow.
Cody Rhodes versus a heel John Cena.
We both want Cena to win.
I can't not pick Cena, man.
I know.
John Cena finally breaking that record and doing so as a heel.
Yes.
It's something that just has to happen.
And validates the heel turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he turns heel to not win, why? Do you know what was the point of him turning heel to begin with? He needs to win.
Yeah.
This is, and like I know people have said about the comparisons to Hogan and Austin. Yeah, it's the top guy of the whole face of a generation turning heel and reinventing himself later in the career. Fine. You know what I mean? Austin, when he turned heel, he only had a couple of years left as a full timer.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there for one of those years because that's when he fucked off. But like Hogan had that whole WCW run and everything as a heel he had a good 6 years after that point. I know this is seen as last year, but Cena turning heel means that he can do the ultimate dick move at the end of the year, and if he's still champion, he can go, I don't fucking mean it. See you on Raw. Do you know what I mean? He's a heel now. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to like. He doesn't have to go with what he said.
Yeah.
He's a heel. He can go back on his word easily.
Absolutely.
He's not doing shit for the fans anymore, and that the way that they've done it, this year's for me. Basically, what he's been saying, isn't it? It's like this is for me now. I'm winning that title. You don't deserve me, so I'm winning that title and I'm taking it home. Great.
Absolutely. So you're saying Cena too, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Now, the 3 bonus points on the line are the SmackDown tag titles. Who will win that if, this is what we're recording before SmackDown, if that gets moved to a multi-man at Mania. We then have Randy's mystery opponent, if he was to have one.
Yeah.
And we're going to do the Andre Battle Royal.
Yeah.
So, if the SmackDown tag titles gets moved to Mania, if it's, let's say it can be up to a 4 multi-man, because I can see it being Guns, Profits, DIY, Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
Or at least Guns, DIY, Profits.
Yeah.
Which of those 4, I think I my head says if it is those 4, it's going to be Pretty Deadly for an amazing out of nowhere moment. But
like they did with Theory and Waller last year.
But I am going to say it's the Guns.
Guns, yeah, agreed.
Well, these bonus points are going well.
It's all hinges on the Battle Royal.
If Randy has a mystery opponent,
come on, we're both going to say Magnus.
I'm not, for the sake of difference.
But you want Magnus.
I want Magnus. I'm so tempted to say Rusev, but then it would also hurt Rusev to come back and lose to Orton.
Because Magnus could have. I want Nick Aldis to have his WrestleMania moment.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's got to be Aldis, isn't it? It's all.
So I want Aldis versus Orton just to give him that Mania moment,
right?
To say it's every wrestling fan's dream, regardless of where they work, to wrestle at WrestleMania. Give Aldis the match.
Right. All comes down to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I am going to say we get to wrap this up quickly, so let's quick fire this. I am saying Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
You fucking prick.
There we go.
What was the point of the bonus points? It all comes down.
I'm going to pick someone different for you.
No. Sorry about that, folks. Zoom had other ideas. So let's just to go over it. SmackDown tag titles, multi-man. If moved to Mania, we've both got Moxie Machine Guns. Randy's potential opponent, if he has one at Mania, we've both said Aldis, and we've both said Cross for the Battle Royal.
The only difference I could see is because you mentioned the name as well. I could see Rusev winning the Battle Royal, which he's done
I,
before, hasn't he?
I think so, yeah, but I just don't think you're returning the
No,
SmackDown
I think
before.
that'd be a bit of a
So,
dodgy return.
what it comes down to for this
Are we going to do a
is
Raw after Mania prediction now?
no,
Oh, okay.
no.
What it comes
The
down to is stand and deliver. We're going to know before Mania starts who's won this predictions battle.
Just for Mania, it's the women's triple threat that
Oh
is
yeah.
different. That's it. For Mania itself, it's the women's triple threat that separates
You
that.
picked Bianca, I picked Io, and we both know it's more
Fuck
than
it,
likely going to be
Rhea.
Rhea.
Yeah. So yeah, we've gone for different answers on stand and deliver
Yeah.
for everything except two matches. So
One thing that I've just realised we really glossed over because I just was like, yeah, no, no, I agree. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight.
yeah,
I do think that has the potential to be an absolute show stealer of a match.
it does, but I think that it's gonna. I think
Fatu's
it's
got to
gonna.
win it.
I think Fatu's gonna win it, and I think it could be a. I don't know.
I think it's the way that we get Fatu versus Solo at the next PLE.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's where it's got to go, and
Yeah,
then I wouldn't be surprised if that's when Hikuleo shows up.
yeah.
Um,
As the replacement for Fatu for the Bloodline, yeah, and I could
yeah,
see
I
LA
could.
Knight
I don't know.
moving up the card.
No, because I could see the Tongans going with Jacob,
Yeah,
and then maybe Solo brings in like Hikuleo and maybe Lance Noai, or
yeah.
Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu.
What about Sim Snooker? We haven't seen him for a while.
That's probably a reason for that.
And what's the
Um,
other one? Manu Bomb. Bring them all in,
oh,
man. Just go
yeah,
full
man.
Bloodline.
Add an extra show, and it's just a Noai Wrestling Federation.
Or Jacob Fatu becomes so unruly that Solo Sikoa has to go back to Roman,
Yes.
cap in hand. Look,
Yeah.
I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. Please help. I made a mistake.
Jim Cornette joins Roman as the new Heyman guy.
I accidentally did a Whitey Cornette voice then. Is that where that
Yeah.
came from?
Oh,
I
so
love Cornette, to be fair. Like, I do think he's great.
there we go,
Like,
folks. We've made our predictions. We have stand and deliver is going to determine so much.
it really is. It
Do you
is.
know what the worst
I,
part is though?
I
St-
think that I
a
think
lot
that's
of
going to be.
a lot of stand and deliver are multi-man matches, so there's still chances we get barely any points.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen throughout the entire year of this predictions league that we're going with. I think it's still going to come down to this first stand and deliver. The stand and deliver. I think this is going to be the one that swings it for the whole year. I think because the thing is, and this is one of the things that works so well. We have completely different tastes about many things, but we're both very like in tune with each other's fandom on wrestling. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's why we get on so well. Like if I mentioned AEW, we both like, yeah. If I mentioned TNA, we're both like, yeah, it's all right. Like
Yeah,
that. And if we mentioned classic TNA from like 2006 here, we're both like, yeah, okay, we can talk about that for hours.
absolutely.
So I think our whole tastes and stuff for wrestling is very, very much in line with each other. So I think it's all going to come down to stand and deliver.
I could, but I mean, look, WWE, the whole thing is anything can happen to WWE. That has never been more true than the current era we're in.
Yep.
Hell froze over. People jumped ship that we never thought would.
Yep.
It's a crazy time to be a wrestling fan, and I'm very intrigued to see where we are standing at WrestleMania 42 in this league.
You know what one thing that we could talk about just in general. I know we're at the end of our Mania thing, but I think we peppered in conversation about the Raw and SmackDown after Mania. One thing that I would absolutely love, and I'm just saying if Cena wins the title, opens Raw with the championship, opening promo, blah blah blah. Cody's not here because he's a SmackDown guy anyway. So there's the justification for Cody not being on Raw because he's not a Raw superstar. Cena's out there because he's already advertised for the Raw after Mania anyway. Cena's out there, opening segment, got the title over his shoulders, and we get our first surprise of the night because Cena says to the crowd something along the lines of, I told you this was going to happen. All you guys had to do was believe. Bam! TNA champ. Joe Hendry comes out because he's been trying to, like, backstage at the Rumble. He was saying he wanted the Cena thing to Cena, and Cena was talking to it. Do you know what I mean? They had a whole conversation on backstage at the Royal Rumble about doing something together.
Yeah.
And Cena was like, "Yeah, if you work hard, if you force it, it'll happen," and all this sort of stuff. That's what Hendry said. Cena said to him. So I'm not plucking this out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And Hendry is in the area for WrestleMania weekend. He's advertised at shows or signings or something during the day.
Yeah, he did a breakfast Q&A with the Hardys yesterday.
Yeah, yes, and the TNA pay-per-view, because normally the TNA do their things on WrestleMania weekend as well. They did it on Thursday, so there's plenty of time for any surprises to happen by way of the TNA WWE agreement, and they absolutely could do that. Can you imagine how insane that would be for the opening segment of the Raw after Mania? Cena's there, and the TNA champs there as well. That would be great.
That would be incredible.
And they might even give us a match that evening. We might get the match there and then on the Raw after Mania, which is still fine because it's a dream match, and it can be a one and done evening because the guy's from another company. But that would be incredible.
That would be incredible.
I really want to see that happen now. I've like talked myself into it. Like, yes, come on. But is there anyone else, like, in terms of injury returns? Is there anyone you can think of that would be a shock coming back from an injury on Raw or SmackDown after Mania?
Droz.
Sorry, cut out.
Droz.
That would be a shock.
That would be a shock, yeah. I don't really... Because the thing is, like, is this Kevin Owens thing, are they really, really working us? I genuinely, all joking aside, I don't believe they are.
It's awful, isn't it? Because it's one of those things where, like,
it would be such a Kevin Owens thing to do
because of how they've done it, but I also don't want the poor bastard to have 2 years out with a neck injury. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you view that? Sami Zayn, not after Mania, because unless he wins the Battle Royal.
Oh yeah, I forgot
we forgot about him. Yeah.
He doesn't have a match, does he?
No. Jimmy Uso.
Jimmy Uso could win it.
Yeah, Jimmy Uso could come back on Raw and we have the Usos versus Gunther and Kaiser or something.
Fuck. And it's the predictions are written, we can't change it, right?
Yeah.
I would say a secondary pick here doesn't get me a point if it happens. But just to say that I've said it, yeah?
Yeah.
If Cross isn't winning it, I very much wouldn't be surprised to see Ludwig Kaiser win the Andre Giant Battle Royal.
Fuck.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Andrade.
Yeah.
Or Rey Fenix.
Oh, fucking dirty Santos Escobar.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, Rey Fenix. Not even talked about him at Mania. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, imagine. And that's why the feud for SmackDown after Mania, the Guns retain. The Guns win the titles on SmackDown, but Street Profits say they want them rematch at Mania, and we get that multi-man match anyway. The Guns keep the belts, or lose the belts and regain them, or whatever. But we end up with the Lucha Bros versus Motor City Machine Guns in WWE.
Jesus.
That's just like...
That would be crazy. Right. Let's wrap this up, because otherwise we're just going to sit here.
Yeah. Pontificating.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that have apparently signed to WWE that haven't made their returns yet, like Aleister Black, like you said. And he could appear on Judgment Day. I think that's a good shout.
I think that's what's going to happen. I think he needs to be... He comes in the leader of the Judgment Day. He can kick Carlito out immediately.
Yeah.
I think he probably kicks Liv and Raquel out.
Yeah. I've
I
just
think
thought of something else as well. Sorry, carry on. Yeah, it
I
keeps
think
with it.
I think Dom then has a couple of weeks of you need to make this choice.
Yeah.
You're either with us or you're with her, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
eventually he'll choose Judgment Day.
Hmm.
Um, Probably brings in
Buddy Murphy if his contract's up.
Buddy Murphy, someone like Buddy Murphy if his contract is up. But I think in WWE, I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring in a couple of people that are already there.
Hmm.
Because I think that could be a good. You remember how when Edge built it, he got Priest eventually,
Yeah.
like first, and then Rhea appeared later. I
Yeah.
think you get that with Alistair if Dom
Yeah. Yeah.
leaves. If Dom leaves, then he's doing that with the slow build like Edge did. But if Dom stays, he you can have a few weeks of Alistair maybe saying that he's in contact.
Yeah.
There's an ally coming, and you know, like the cryptic standard Alistair Black
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and then you know the reveal of oh it's whoever. But I think if someone like Alistair Black takes over the Judgment Day, he's got to kick Carlito in the head
Yeah.
because Carlito is very much a comedy character in the Judgment Day,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's not what Alistair Black would have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Dom stayed. Alistair Black brought in Nakamura.
Yeah. Depending on what Nakamura's doing, because apparently the reason he dropped the title was that he's asked for leave, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
So it depends. But they could bring him in later in the year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said,
So
that's
you're
a
right. Yeah,
condition.
I think that could absolutely happen. Nakamura would be a fit, a really good fit. Um,
Um, Rusev, I think, will turn up on SmackDown.
I think Rusev like what's just occurred to me. Can you remember when LA Knight won the title after Logan Paul, and then he started doing the open challenges again on SmackDown? That's when you got like Santos and Andrade getting shots at the US title over the last year. He
Yeah,
does an open challenge on SmackDown because he successfully retained Rusev.
I don't think he'll return. I
No, but
think
if he retains, I think that's the way that they bring
no,
Rusev.
I think you have LA Knight come out and cut a promo after losing. He can be, he can
And
be
he could just call out anyone. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
not even maybe call out, but he could just be running his mouth. He's pissed off. Maybe he's got a sling on, or he's like torso's wrapped, like something.
yeah.
Maybe he's got that, that really obscure. This actually helps
The one that
nothing
Batista had.
they've got like the bandage strap
The one
and
that
then
everyone
across
owned
their
the
tits.
one Batista figure with it on.
Yeah, like that kind of random thing. He could have
Yeah,
that on, and then he could just be, bitching and moaning. He could be like, I put the US title on the next level. No one's done what I've done with the US title. Rusev Butria, Rusev Machka.
or Aiden English comes out first.
No, I don't want Rusev there.
I know you don't want it, but you can see it happening. Like that.
No, I can't. No Vince in there. I think we get
We get
We get
proper classic Rusev. Yeah, yeah,
we get classic Rusev with Lana.
yeah,
I think not slag Lana, but
yeah.
like
Proper Lana. Yeah,
proper Lana, and I think we get an incredible run there because then you could have Sheamus. He's been gone a bit. You could have him. Oh, maybe Sheamus comes back on SmackDown.
yeah. Oh,
Open
Sheamus could
challenges
win the Battle Royal.
if he's
Shit.
back. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you could have Sheamus come back on SmackDown and do the whole "I'm back. I've not got a match. I want to fight because I'm this year's Finley."
And
And
Rusev.
then Rusev comes out.
Yeah,
You could have Sheamus been like, "Oh my God, League of Nations, fella," and then he's kicked in the head.
yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Um, there's so much that they could do. I'm just really excited for the next 7 days of wrestling.
Yeah. You know, one thing that we've completely forgotten about, which was announced last year, and everyone's forgotten about, but I could see this kicking off on the night after Mania. Gunther comes out, has lost the world title to Jay, comes out pissy, blah 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 blah, and says, "As I've spent all night trying to think of what's next for me now that I've lost the world title." You know what I mean?
And it's his
Because
son,
yeah,
Jack, has been
yeah,
roided up for a year. Put your fucking hands on me now, dickhead.
Yes.
Just
but,
fucking comes out bench pressing a Harley.
but they announced that they've announced Goldberg's getting his retirement match in WWE this year. They just haven't said when. So, Gunther
Gotta be.
Goldberg, it makes the most sense.
Oh my god. If Backlash is the first show they do of the year,
Yeah.
that would be perfect for Goldberg because that was
Because it
his
was his
first pay
first
per view.
WWE. Yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
would work. That would work.
And that's your big post Mania match that people aren't expecting. Although they might do if they've listened to us. But chances of people sitting through 3 hours of us nattering to this point. At this point, we're just doing these for us.
Yeah, this is just our like wrestling catch up.
But yeah, I could absolutely see them building Goldberg Gunther from the night after Mania. Because then it gives a reason to not do Jay Gunther again straight away. Do you know what I mean? Because I think if Jay overcome, one of the things that used to piss me off with certain booking at Mania was when your champion, you'd have a championship change hands in the main event, and then the next two shows were the same matches and went the same way. Like Batista Triple H, if Triple H had took the title off Batista straight away and then dropped it to Batista in that Hell in a Cell match that they had, then there's that. And you've got your logic for the matches to go on that. But Triple H just getting the rematches without winning them, I sort of lost interest by the time that they had their final match. And the same with JBL and Cena. I wasn't bothered. Once Cena won the title at Mania, and they, especially when they went, okay, here's the new title.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's defending it against JBL for the next two shows or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
JBL's not winning that new belt that's just come out.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that when Jay wins against Gunther, they give Gunther something else to not go after Jay. But they don't forget about Gunther and Jay's issues, because Gunther and Jay is one of the occasions where I would like to see that carry on.
Yeah.
Based on how the build's been. So I'd like Jay, and I see, we were saying that you could flip a coin because Gunther should be world champ, should have a lengthy reign. I could see Gunther being the one to take the title off Jay.
Yeah.
Or Bron Breakker, because of how they've had the Intercontinental run in as well. Bron Breakker could take the title off Jay. But I think Jay gets a random placeholder feud so that he's got the world title for at least 2 months. And then could be Jay versus Drew.
I'm just trying to think of people who could have that placeholder feud and not be hurt by not winning it.
Solo?
I don't think anyone really believes he's up there, to be
No,
honest.
no, but because of the whole bloodline the bloodline thing, Solo and everyone could start going after him.
Look, we could get like
Roman. Roman might go for it. He might just go, you know what? You came at me for my title, I'm coming at you for yours. We get a Roman Jay program. And Jay actually wins.
I could see like a Ludwig Kaiser.
I could see a Kaiser match happening, yeah.
Like a one pay-per-view feud sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 week build. Have Ludwig win like a number one contender match or a battle royal or something, and then that's what kicks off.
Or
for a little bit.
Or if they do Seth Heyman, we get Seth versus Jay.
The thing with that though is
Seth would win. Yeah.
I think Seth has to win because you can't
no, because Roman could help Jay. And we get Seth Roman feuding throughout the year.
Roman.
And that could be the big SummerSlam match, non-title SummerSlam match could be Seth versus Roman.
Roman's never pinned Seth. So is that what the payoff's going to be at this at their triple threat? Roman finally gets to pin Seth.
Could be. It's going to be good though, isn't it? That's the thing. That's the thing about wrestling right now. It's so fucking good. WWE and like. Yeah. And TNA, to be fair, has been on like a resurgence for the last year or so.
Luke's doing great things with his wrestling figures.
Pardon?
Basically, Luke's been doing great things with his wrestling figures.
Yeah.
So basically, anywhere but AEW.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're 3 hours in and you've still listened to the slander,
we're getting to the waffle now. Like, yeah. I mean, the things you said about Lucas, one of the things that's happened recently that I'm incredibly proud of is that Ruben's now. My oldest son Ruben is 12 and he's just started wrestling training again. I took him to some things years ago and everything, but now he's got to, and he's really good. Like he's just immediately taken to it, which of course he has because he spent years watching it with me,
Yeah,
playing video games where he's seeing how moves are happening. Spent years playing with his when he used to play with his figures, he wasn't just going mash
hitting
mash
them
mash.
together.
It was
Yeah,
a right arms are hooked down the go. You know he was doing all that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's why he prefers the elite figures to the basics
Because they
because
got the bend.
yeah. So and he hates he hates the AEW figures because they don't move as fluidly. Some of
Of
them are all
course.
wobbly, but it's like, oh, you've got to really crank their arms to get them working. And he doesn't like that with his toys, which is so that's what he's been like for years. And yeah, seeing him going to train has been awesome. And the guy training him, Paul Malin, Paul Malin's someone who's been on the British wrestling scene for years. Really, really fantastic wrestler, really good trainer, and stuff. I've had run-ins with him many times. Though they go quite a way back with him by default, just from being in similar places at the same time. I've done hope shows where he was there, slam wrestling, and a few other bits and pieces. And I've been to these Aspire shows that because it's Aspire Wrestling Alliance that he's now running. The training from, and they've now been going for 9 years as well. But that's really good wrestling to see live as well. So that's the point. There's lots of good wrestling out there in all ways, shapes, and forms. Apart from AEW. that that was my convoluted point. In fact, NWA's been on a tear as well. To be
I
fair,
stopped. I watched NWA when they first brought it out, so that's when they
yeah,
had like they had LA Knight at that point.
and
They were
James
kind of early.
Storm as main ones,
Yeah,
and yeah,
James
and
Storm was
Aldis,
in there.
yeah.
They had Aldis, Trevor Murdoch.
I
I know
think
Trevor Murdoch's still there, but they had
I know,
Trevor
but him
Murdoch
winning the
and
NWA title was a nice
yeah,
surprise. Yeah, yeah.
Tim Storm was there at that point. That sort of like when it first came onto the YouTube thing, and it felt really fresh. And now I don't know. I stopped what I don't know. I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't say what it is now. But I stopped watching at the time because it started to feel more carny than anything.
Yeah. The last 6 months, it's been like I mean they've had at the moment the current champs Tom Latimer, the former Bram,
Yeah, Bram.
who
Yeah,
got a reference on SmackDown when Tiffy was calling out Charlotte for all the
yeah.
divorces.
Not
but,
fixing my DMs.
I'm glad that Bram's doing something somewhere positive, and him as a world champion. He was talent wise, he was absolutely a main event level talent,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, there's loads of rumours and allegations. We can't speak of any of those sorts of things, but I know they've hindered his career in other places like NXT and TNA
Yeah.
because of incidents. But he's genuinely a phenomenal worker, and he's from like midway between where me and you live.
Yeah,
He's from
yeah,
frigging Chesterfield,
yeah,
which
man.
is bizarre. I like that. And fun fact: years ago, I was in talks with a guy at Chesterfield, probably 15 years ago, when before my back went, because so more than 15 years ago. And I was going to go and do stuff at Chesterfield wrestling wise before I actually got into wrestling myself, because this was
Yeah.
again before my back went. My back went for the benefit of the listeners. My back went when I was about 21, and I had a good few years where I had like limited mobility um, and stuff. So when I got into wrestling, I was a lot older because it was after that had all healed up. But the initial time that I was going to do it, I was going to go to Chesterfield, and it would have been at the time when Bram would have been training there. So just missed him because
Yeah.
my back went out. So yeah, anyway, I digress. But
He's a strong boy. I think he'd have probably made your back go again, to be honest.
probably
Yeah.
just got snap.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been Bram and EC3 have been the top guys for the last year, I think, in NWA. But EC3's another one where it's nice to see him at that level in somewhere because he was great as TNA champion. I
Yeah.
think what hurt him was leaving TNA and to pick WWE, and then WWE. Obviously, it massively hurt him when Vince went, "Yeah, no, he's not going to speak," and that was silly. Because he was one of TNA's best talkers, like that. You know what I mean? It's like they went, "Yeah." TNA built him all the way up to that level, and then he went into WWE with his TNA name of EC3, and then they just like got into the main roster and joke, and that hurt his credibility. And I think his control the narrative stuff that he was doing looked like it was going to be really good, but it was like sort of the wrong time,
Yeah.
and because it was he ended up in TNA during the pandemic, and you got the Moose versus EC3 thing for the old belt, which was great. But obviously, Moose kept it because EC3 was only there short term. And then he spent a good few years trying to build up his own wrestling promotion, which was the Control Your Narrative thing or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I think Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, Karrion Kross were all going to be involved at one point or another, and every time they were going to be involved, Papa Hunter rang them up.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh man,
Have you
just
seen?
can't catch a break with this.
I saw this, and I've never really spent a lot of time watching this product, so I'm not going to pretend to know it all. But MLW, their current champ is Matt Riddle, right?
Oh yeah. I've never really watched MLW.
Yeah, he had a match against another former WWE guy, but then Dijak showed up, and then fucking Baron Corbin showed up.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I want to watch MLW. From that being said, yeah.
Yeah, I love Corbin, honestly.
The Raisin Frog would be like would have told us all about this months ago if he was still involved.
Oh yeah, Hammerstone returned as well.
Oh yeah.
He chose MLW over anywhere else.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough. Each to their own.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're waffling, so let's wrap.
We are waffling lots.
We are. We've probably hit.
Thank you for staying with us this long and padding our potential YouTube viewing hours that we need in order to get monetized. So, just stick this on for 3 hours. We'd really appreciate it.
Just mute it. It's fine.
Leave it playing on one screen, open X Hamster on the other, or whatever. Just do what you want. Just mute us, but leave it playing for 3 hours.
Entire pod.
Nice. But your X Hamster was muted, so as to not confuse things.
Exactly. Always mute your hamsters, man. Otherwise, they ask for help.
You could tell it's getting to like the point where we've been talking for too long. Because it just evolves.
But thank you all for joining us for the start of what will be a full wrestling calendar year of this shit. I will make fucking sure of that. We will be back after Mania, maybe like Monday evening if we can.
I think that the previous schedule that I was doing for podcast that we were doing for podcasts was dropping them on Thursdays. But so I think we should probably try and get them. We should. Obviously, WrestleMania is a different schedule anyway, but I think if we try and aim for a set release date, I think at least fortnightly for our podcast going forward. I think more than likely every week if we get more. But yeah,
we'll figure it out. But we will be back because we'll need to go through the results, talk about Mania.
So that will just throw out whatever day we're saying for a podcast will be completely different because of Mania.
We could maybe try and record on like a Sunday.
Good, Sundays are good
because then I'm thinking we can review the full week of WWE,
and we can preview if there's anything on the Sunday night.
Yes, the pay-per-view that's there.
Although most times they've been doing the PLEs on a Saturday, which has been brilliant as well. So if we're doing Sundays, we'll record Sundays and drop the podcast on a Monday. There we go.
Yeah. And if there's a pay-per-view, we can the Saturday before the show we can do a prediction thing and get that quickly out there.
And let's not forget that this year's WrestleMania falls on Bank Holiday weekend for us in the UK. So Monday's actually quite clear for me at the moment. I've got no solid plans. We could do this Monday morning.
Wonderful.
Indeed.
Wonderful. Right. Thank you all for joining. I've been Connor. That has been my Pookie Bear, Rory, whichever side it is. I don't know if you guys are watching the video, but this now it's kind of like.
I don't even know if I was going to release it as video. Normally we just do it as audio.
I don't know. I just kind of did that, and I just kind of felt like Hitler at a rave. But yes,
or a more low key Titus O'Neil.
But we will catch you all on Monday when we talk about this brilliant weekend of wrestling.
Indeed.
Enjoy Mania, people.